And they sobbed and they sighed, and they bitterly cried, till at last they grew weary, and lay down and died. Hello, this is Nick from Breaker Press Games. Today I want to review The Tomb of Black Sand by Jacob Hurst. Just got this in the mail over the weekend, and I'm very excited about it. This is a Kickstarter that was run back in March of this year, and my package just arrived in November. When I backed this Kickstarter, it was supposed to be a zine, yeah, this is like no zine that I've ever seen. But as far as self-publishing goes, it is gorgeous. So let's talk about this for a minute. So as I said, the book is called The Tomb of Black Sand. The production values on this book are just fantastic. It is bound. It has a high gloss painting image on the cover. It has the nice reflective silver print. Everything about it is just gorgeous. So open it up, and we've got this beautiful map. Gives some information about the dungeon itself, and then it has a number of the rooms listed, as well as what page numbers their encounter descriptions are. The level of care that went into that is fantastic. Makes it really easy to reference. So now it opens up with need a hook, foul witchcraft, a bad deal, gone hunting, candlelight vigil, bonfire, and druid's bane. All of these are different adventure hooks in order to get a party that's already in a campaign up and running. I don't know that I would have placed that there, but it is a useful bit of information to have. What I really want to talk about, so illustrated by Gabriel Hernandez. All of the illustrations in this book are fantastic. It's written by Jacob Hurst and Donnie Garcia, layout by Jacob Hurst, edited by Fiona Geist. Now, you will recognize if you follow other OSR products that this was put together by the team that did the Swordfish or Hot Springs Islands books by Swordfish Islands. So not surprisingly, they won all sorts of awards for those books, so it's not surprising that this particular book has these incredible production values. But I'm going to talk about it anyway. The maps are by Karl Stjernberg, cover by Daniel Horne, Tomb of Black Sand logo and font by Tim Hastings. All of this, and it was printed in Canada, and this is the first printing of 3,000 copies. So nice big print run, especially for an indie product. Talks about the play testers and what play test groups were involved. Fantastic illustration right here, and it gets into the overview and the cold start. So I like how this is organized. Plugs and sockets. It says the things that this area or this region needs. If you're going to plug this into your campaign, you need a forest, a glut of corpses, a town, and relative isolation. So it makes it really easy for you to look at, okay, what do I need in order to be able to drop this into my own setting? But also then there's the information on a cold start. And I should read this overview really quick. Tomb of Black Sand was recently grown from bone, stone, and dark magic by the then necromancer Vincent Bine. Vincent, seeking to leave these mortal realms, became a lich and now works ceaselessly, using rare treasures and forbidden knowledge to become a demi-lich and transcend to the planes beyond. The tomb is relatively self-contained and focused almost entirely in on itself. Blight spreads from its walls and distorts the land, but this impact is incidental. Something as petty as regional or global domination is far beneath Vincent's interests. So that gives the overview, the setup. As far as text that you recite, that is pretty much pretty much it. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. So in the cold start, as we go back to that, I think this is a fairly interesting thing. When I played first edition D&D many years ago in the 80s, there was a module, A4, Dungeon of the Slave Lords. And that particular module, I think that was the A4, that particular module starts with the entire party arriving naked and without any weapons in this dungeon. And the cold start version of this, which is useful for running this as a one-shot at like a convention, is exactly that. Your party waking up in some sort of burial shrouds, but otherwise naked in these pits. Really neat way to do the start. The other thing that's interesting, it's something that I've never seen before, but maybe it's been done before, I don't know. When you start the cold start at a convention or with your gaming group, the pre-generated characters that you create for the adventure, you don't hand them out to the players and say, here, who wants to play the cleric, who wants to play this, who wants to play that. You give nobody anything, and then when they wake up in the pits and they see a bunch of other dead bodies all laying around that have equipment, when they're like, oh, I'm going to go pick up that holy symbol. Oh, now you're the cleric. Oh, I'm going to go pick up that longsword. Okay, now you're the warrior. And I thought that was kind of clever, something a little different. And so then we've got a little hex crawl map. Talks about Brighton, which is the city or town that is closest to the Tomb of Black Sand. I love these little charts. I'm sure plenty of other adventurers use these, but common family names, common male names, common female names, so that you can populate the town very quickly and come up with names on the fly. Has your notable places, the Red Squirrel, Timber Yard, and then people that run these establishments like Dario Stone and Niles Flax. It gives nice little breakdowns on the different people that are involved in the town, but not too much. It gives you just enough to run the adventure without having a bunch of bloat and information that you don't necessarily need. It sets up a love story that is part of what is involved with the Demi-Lich Vincent, as well as some other characters that populate the story. So then we get into, once again, that same map that was on the inside cover. Breaks down the rooms, has some more information, or possibly the same information that is on the inside. But then it also has sights and sounds. So there's a random roll chart. So instead of having random encounters that are lethal encounters, it is things that you hear, the bumps and groans and things that are going on within the tomb. Then it talks about the ritual, key locations. I'm not going to get into too much detail about this, but essentially, Vincent, to become the Demi-Lich, the tomb itself is part of the ritual. There are different colored candles that do different things. And there is a detailed thing that is a flowchart for how sacrifices work, which is unique. Vincent's extras, etc., more fantastic art. There is a section on suffocating under sand. I'll be honest that when I read through it, I was like, wait, what's going on? I don't know that I would remember to do that when playing, but there are anywhere that you could suffocate under sand. It does give the page number to reference this, so maybe I would. This is one of the things that I love, and you might be able to tell by how I currently am doing my reviews that I am a fan of Questing Beast. and have watched many reviews on that channel. And I had seen him referenced before, loving the idea of having maps on the same page as the encounter that they reference. And I think it is a fantastic way to do things so that you're not flipping back and forth all over the place. You have all of the visual information and the written information all in the same place. I think that's great. One of the things that I don't like, and I know some people probably do love this method of running a dungeon. I might be in the minority, but I love block text. Well-written block text can really set the scene. You are, by not using your own voice, you are using, you're not going to run into utilizing the same words over and over again to describe things. You're embracing somebody else's vernacular and vocabulary and their artistic vision. The way this is laid out is that each of the encounter areas has keywords, and the keywords then are broken, which are in bold, and then descriptions of those keywords. So black sand, large drifts, slippery, moving. That's as much information as it gives. And I prefer block text for somebody who can look at those headings and be able to improv on the fly. I'm sure they love it. I'm sure they prefer it. But for me, yeah, give me some block text. I wanted to weave somebody's narrative. So all a matter of preference. But still, I do love the maps and the encounters being on the same page. So there's a lot of really interesting rooms. The moon pool and sand-choked room. There's a lot of interesting encounter areas. Minerva is part of that love story and between Minerva and Vincent. I won't go into the details about that. It's a love story. What do you want? And then the werewolves, and they're involved in that too. So, more fantastic art, notable plants. So there is a chapel, and off of the chapel, in the chapel, there are plants that Minerva tends to, and they go through the trouble to break down each of the unique bits of flora and give you some real description into it that gives it some depth. And I think that's very cool. Love this piece. Yeah, as far as the dungeon goes, it is very dungeony, as you could tell by the layout. It's not particularly unique in the sense of how it is laid out or the sense of vision. It's a very typical old school AD&D, very, very blocky, and I don't think that that's not a complaint. I actually love that. When I draw dungeons, they're generally like that too. So I find it visually appealing, but it is not anything particularly unique. Flesh Golem, this art is great. It is also a self-repairing Flesh Golem, spoilers, which is very cool. And, Vincent Vine. Now, one of the things that is established multiple times throughout this adventure, I forgot to mention right at the beginning that this adventure is meant for 4th level characters. And when I say 4th level characters, though this is supposed to be a system neutral product, all of the wording, from what I can tell, with references to advantage and disadvantage and how the hit points run and the levels involved, it definitely is a 5e product that has all of the visual notes of being something more old school in terms of classic dungeon crawls. One of the things that I do love about this is they establish right at the very beginning, Jacob Hurst establishes right in the beginning, this module is not meant for the players to go in and kill the Lich. In fact, if they attempt to go in and kill the Lich, they probably will not. And they will probably not make it out alive. And I as somebody who came from first edition AD&D, I have no problem with that. Everything in this adventure is not meant to be killed. There are things that dynamics where you can negotiate and or just ignore things completely, or they might ignore you. And I think that is how it should be. So yeah, if a party went in and they're like, yeah, we're gonna kill Vincent Bine, probably not. Body processing, they get really into how the Lich is processing the sacrifices and where the black sand is coming from, and I didn't know anything about that when I acquired this book, or when I backed it on Kickstarter, and I think it's very clever and dark, and I like it. The Sand Thresher. Hey, what happens if you get swallowed? And treasure room, and then it has at the back, it has a number of monsters that are unique to the adventure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 new monsters. Then it has the map again. So if you're flipping from the back, you can access it. I don't think that was necessarily required. They probably were just filling up some pages. Then you've got your legal appendix, some more cool art. And then thank you to all of the Kickstarter backers. And hey, my name's on there, as well as some other people that I know, which is very cool. All in all, this is a fantastic little book. The production values, I mean, this is probably one of the best looking gaming books on my shelf that's not made by Forge World / Black Library. It is absolutely gorgeous, and but I love that when I open it up and flip through it, it still has that old AD&D feel that I don't know, I feel a strong nostalgia for. All told, it was definitely worth backing. I think that I would run this adventure because it is a cool dungeon and a nice little story. And yeah, I think that this would be great on anybody's shelf, whether you play 5e or whether you play something like Dungeon Crawl Classics, like I do. So there's my review of The Tomb of Black Sand by Jacob Hurst and the group behind Swordfish Islands / Hot Spring Islands. Highly recommended, and thanks for listening. Bye.